Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Metal Oreo Music Reviews today, where I will be going over my top 10 albums of 2022. Let's start with number one, my favorite album of this year, which if you guys have been following my channel for a long time, you guys would probably know this is my favorite album of this year. And that is Lorna Shore's Pain Remains. My top three songs on this album are the Pain Remains trilogy, which I'm counting as one song, Welcome Back, O Sleeping Dreamer, and Wrath. I absolutely adore this album. The guitar work on this album is incredible. The symphonics on this album really make this really elevate it to a whole new level, and I love it. Just everything about this album is so incredible. It left me speechless when I first heard it. Quite possibly my favorite album of all time too. I know it's my favorite deathcore album of all time, and this album was life-changing for me. Let's move on to number two. Number two goes to another deathcore record, which came out earlier this year in January. This record is called Ritual Hymns by Worm Shepherd. My top three songs on this album are Blood Moon, Of Sword and Nail, and Wilted Moon. I also adore this album. I found out about these guys recently, and I've been in love with them ever since. They're just good black and deathcore. It's really hard to find. It's hard to find good black and deathcore because Lorna Shore is not black and deathcore. They're symphonic. That's why they more appeal to the mainstream. These guys are symphonic black and deathcore, and it's incredible. It's not, like I said, it's pretty rare to find good symphonic black and deathcore bands because it's a pretty niche genre. But yeah, I absolutely love this record. I think it's amazing. I even learned some of the songs on my guitar for this record. Might do a YouTube guitar cover. I'm not sure about that, but let's move on to my number three album of 2022. My number three goes to another deathcore record, although it's not as intense as the first two. This record is more progressive. It's pretty different for these guys and what they are known for. This spot goes to Enterprise Earth's album, The Chosen. My top 3 songs on this record are Overpass, You Couldn't Save Me, and Reanimate Disintegrate. I really enjoy this record. This is probably my favorite Enterprise Earth record. It's so different from their past 2019 album Luciferus, because Luciferus was more just straight deathcore. This is more progressive deathcore, and it's easier for not as big of deathcore fans to listen to, so you can get them into deathcore. This is pretty good. It's not as intense as like the first two, like I said. Guitar work on this is great. There's 14 tracks on this album, so it's a lengthy album, but 3 of those are like interlude tracks. Still, it's a lengthy album, but nonetheless, an amazing album. Let's move on to my number 4 pick. Now, number 4, this one may surprise you guys. At the start of the year, I thought this was an amazing album. Like, I could not get enough of this album at the start of the year. I loved the guitar work on this album, the symphonics on this album. Number 4 goes to Shadow of Intense album, Elegy. My top 3 songs on this album are the Elegy Trilogy, which again I'm counting as one song, Saurian King, and Blood in the Sands of Time. This album, I was pretty sure it was going to be my album of the year, but then Pain Remains happened. But still, this is an incredible album. I got this one in my car. Actually got it signed by Chris Weisman, the guitarist, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, an incredible album front to back. There's not really any bad songs on this album. I love all of them. And this just an amazing, another incredible record from Shadow of Intent. They keep outdoing themselves, because I thought Melancholy, their album from 2019, was going to be the best Shadow album. But then they released Elegy, and that topped Melancholy for me. But let's move on to my number 5 pick. My number 5 spot goes to one of the most unique bands in deathcore. No one else is really doing anything like these guys. They're a 2-man project, and it goes to Darko US's album, Oni. My top 3 songs from this album are Anna, Hyperkill, and Dragon Chaser. I absolutely love this album because it's so unique. No one else is doing anything like Darko. The only band I can even say that kind of comes close to Darko is Brand of Sacrifice, and they're not even really close to what Darko is doing. They're one of my favorite bands in deathcore for sure right now. It's just 2 people. Baby J, also real name is Josh Miller, and the singer from Chelsea Grin, Tom Barber. So yeah, let's move on to my number 6 spot. My number 6 spot goes to another blackened deathcore record. This one came out in August, not August, October. It's an incredible record, and it is Awaken Providence's album, Eternity. My top 3 songs on this album are We Are Eternity, The Horror of the Old Gods, and The Court of the Trinity, The Final Movement. I'm not counting that whole trilogy because the band never said it was a trilogy, but it's kind of like a trilogy. I'm just not going to count it as a trilogy. But yeah, I absolutely love this album. Again, another super, super good blackened deathcore release from this year. It's symphonic. It's a short album. It gets to the point, cuts to the chase, does not skip any beats. 9 songs on this album, 40 something minutes. But yeah, nonetheless, an incredible record. Probably my favorite Awaken Providence record. Let's go to my number 7 spot. My number 7 spot will actually surprise you a lot. I think it will surprise all of you. My number 7 spot, this album is very unique. Well, not unique it's unique to what I listen to because I don't listen to a lot of this style. And this is, the number 7 spot goes to The Devil Wears Prada, Color Decay. My top 3 songs from this are Cancer, Noise, and Time. This album it really spoke to me this year. I don't know, it's just very depressing, and I love it though. It's so good. Like the atmosphere on this album, it has the heavy songs, it has the sad songs, it just has everything. It's really good. Not much else I can say about this record. So let's move on to my number 8 spot. My number 8 spot goes to another album that was released earlier in the year. I believe this one was like in April sometime. And these guys have been around forever. They've been around since like 89 or something. And my number 8 spot goes to Meshuggah, Immutable. My top 3 songs from this album are God He Sees and Mirrors, The Faultless, and Ligature Marks. When this album first came out, I thought it was going to be my album of the year. I thought it was going to beat Shadow of Intent, but here we are at number 8 spot with Meshuggah. Even surprising myself, surprised I put this so low on the list, but nonetheless, an amazing record for these guys being almost like 20, 30 some years in their career. Their sound has not changed one bit. This kind of has like a kind of mash between everything in their career. Like some of the songs, like Ligature Marks, remind me of Obzen. God He Sees and Mirrors kind of reminds me of Chaos Sphere. And yeah, it's just a good, nice variety. And let's move on to my number 9 spot. My number 9 spot goes to another deathcore album that was released earlier in the year. I think this one was around the same time, like February or January. I can't really remember. But these guys have also been doing it for a little bit, not as long as Meshuggah, not nearly as long as Meshuggah, but this is not their first rodeo. And it's Fit for an Autopsy's Oh, What the Future Holds. My top 3 songs from this record are The Man That I Was Not, Two Towers, and Savages. This record is a really good record for people wanting to get into deathcore because it's not too intense like some of the ones on my list, like Warm Shepherd or Lorna Shore. It's just simple deathcore. It's good deathcore. Not really much else to say about this one. It's a short album that cuts to the chase, like 10 songs on this album, but it's an incredible album, and it landed my number 9 spot on my top 10 albums of 2022. Let's move to my number 10 spot. My number 10 spot goes to another sort of unique record for what I listen to. This is more math rock. Math rock. I don't know what you really could consider these guys. But it's a great record. This one was released in October. Seems like all the great releases come out in October. But my number 10 spot is Polyphia's album, Remember That You Will Die.
It's all phonetic, made me forget every word, cause like, that's a lot of letters. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. 911, hello, it's me. So
My top 3 songs from this album are Playing God, ABC, and Ego Death. This album Tim Henson just alone is an incredible guitarist, and this album really shows that. I love all the features, like from hip hop and different genres they put on this album. Like I know a couple of them have like some rappers on them, and Ego Death even has Steve Vai on it. So I think that's really cool. Polyphia did finally a song with Steve Vai, but this album is really good. I'd recommend you go check it out. Just like with all the other albums of this list, if you want to check them out, please check them out. I'll have the links in the description. But nonetheless, that concludes my top 10 albums of 2022. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace out.